Welcome everyone to the introduction of the ESSA Dashboard. This is the first webinar in the Every Student Succeeds Act Dashboard series. The webinar series will provide an overview of the dashboard, including the ESSA requirements, the purpose of the dashboard, data reporting sources, and how this data informs the model of school support. As you folks know, this is the first webinar of a 3-webinar series. So we also have on March 18th, how is ESSA Dashboard used and where does the data come from? As well as on March 25th, ESSA Dashboard and the Maine model of school support. Today, we're going to start scratching the surface. The hope and promise of Every Student Succeeds Act is to bring transparency to parents, school personnel, and community members. We will start to scratch the surface in this webinar and provide information about the state and school administrative unit data available on the dashboard related to student achievement and success. We will provide an overview of the data included on the ESSA dashboard. That state and SAUs can also include information that might be useful to community members, school personnel, and parents. The ESSA dashboard is one of the Maine DOE's most utilized dashboards, both by internal DOE staff and the public. It is also utilized in the Maine accountability system, known as the Maine model of school support. Fun fact, there has been over 44,000 views from November 2024 to February 2025 of this dashboard. The ESSA dashboard gets about twice as many hits as other Maine DOE data dashboards combined. The data that is provided on the ESSA dashboard is populated annually utilizing SAU certified data. You can use the filters to see different years and different types of data. The ESSA dashboard and its data is connected to the ESEA consolidated application. The ESEA application asks the SAU to describe the process for annually notifying and educating families about the dashboard, and in addition, collects the URL of the dashboard location on the SAU's website. Now we're going to jump into the required data that must be on the ESSA dashboard. The first one is educational spending. So the information must provide information on how much is spent per student for every school in the SAU. It must also show how much money comes from federal sources and how much money comes from state and local sources. Another required data element is student achievement. The information must provide statewide assessment results, participation percentages, the number of students with significant cognitive disabilities who take an alternative test, statewide and SAU averages, along with our NAEP state results. In addition, the graduation rate is also a required data set. The information must provide regular diploma or higher credential graduation rates for students who receive a diploma after more than 4 years, as well as rates of post-secondary enrollment for every high school in the state, if they are available. In addition to the data requirements that I've mentioned already, we are also required to report on school environment. And this school environment is data that is collected from SAUs and related to in-school suspensions, out-of-school suspensions, arrests, referrals to law enforcement, chronic absenteeism, and incidents of violence, including bullying and harassment. Another required data set is teacher qualifications. The information must provide the number and percentages of inexperienced teachers, principals, and other school leaders. teachers teaching with emergency or provisional credentials, teachers who are not teaching in the subject or field for which the teacher is licensed. We are also required to provide information related to accountability. The information must provide a clear and brief description of the accountability system, results of the accountability system, and the state-selected accountability indicators. Again, these are all required data sets that are necessary to populate on the ESSA dashboard. But in addition, there is an opportunity for states and SAUs to provide additional information. The goal of the dashboard is to be sure that we are consistent with our accountable measures, but also to be sure that we are transparent to our community. With all of that said, it is critical that this information is accessible to all users. So we want to be sure that the ESSA dashboard is concise and understandable, access to public information that is available to individuals with disabilities, contained with written plain language that parents can understand, as well as available in other languages. On our ESSA dashboard, you will see that there is a link to our accessibility and additional information. It is the state's commitment to make the digital information and services accessible and usable to everyone. At this time, I'm going to go back to our original slide that has a snapshot of the dashboard. And as you can see, we have some required data sets that I've discussed, but we also have some additional information available on our dashboard, i.e. multilingual learners. So again, it is the SAU as well as the state who determines what additional information is available on the dashboard. That concludes all of the required information, as well as highlighting a couple components that are not required that are available on Maine Department of Education's dashboard. Today was the first of a three-part series. We will open it up for questions and answers, but we also hope that you will join us on March 18th for our Lunch and Learn next week, where we will share information about how the ESSA dashboard is used and where the data is generated. Again, today was just to scratch the surface and identify some areas that are required on the ESSA dashboard.
If there are any questions, we can put them in the chat, or you do have the ability to unmute, or should have the ability to unmute, I should say, and ask your question.
I have a question. Is there any way to get the slideshows or the slides posted anywhere? I went through the whole meeting and Teams never showed me any of the slides. So it would be really helpful if I could see them. That's why I logged out and logged back in. I could magically see the last slide.
We will have the recording also, Todd. So if you, we'll post it on the YouTube channel, the Data YouTube channel. So we'll have it there.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Where is there any way to get the link to register for the March 18th and the March 25th sessions?
So the webinars are all posted on the event calendar. That's probably the best place to get to it. I know that some broken links were sent out, but on the event calendar for the Maine Department of Education, we're listed under the area of focus for data, and you can find all of the webinars for this series there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll also post that link momentarily to the professional development calendar in our chat box.
Thank you, Shelley.
I have a question. Where do you get the community information? Do you go through your town office or?
Do you have a specific data set that you're interested in? Because all of the data incorporated in the ESSA dashboard is data that is certified at the SAU level and inputted through our data mechanisms from the SAU.
Okay, so that is on your website that I go on?
Are you asking about the financial reports?
No, I'm asking about, we had a meeting yesterday with Dawn McLaughlin, I think her name is, and on the CNA on the paperwork that
Yeah.
we need to fill out, one of the
Yes.
things was about community
Yeah, Rita,
information.
thank you for that question. Rita Pello from Title I here. That is not a required data set. And previous districts, when they've wanted it and used it, have gone to their town offices.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
And then there was just one other question I had. The slide went by a little too quickly for me. You needed information on inexperienced teachers and teachers who did not teach in their field. Is that correct?
So we collect data on all of the teachers that we have employed in Maine school administrative units, and in part of that collection, we're collecting their qualifications. So that's where that comes from. So this is not an additional data set that's being collected. This is how we report out data for our that's been collected. It's one of the mechanisms that we use to report out publicly.
Okay, and so I missed the link. You guys had DOE/, where do I go? I guess is an easier
I
question.
think
Where do I
Shelley
go?
just put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yes. Christine.
Good afternoon. Quick question. A lot of us have been obviously using the dashboard. Do you know when the data will be in for 24, 25?
That's a really great question. So 24-25 data will not be posted until next fall at the earliest. What the reason for that is because it's certified data sets based on the ESSA accountability date, which is in May. And we also need to have all of our collections in before we can put that data together. And the last collection that we have is actually graduation, which is due in September. So it will be in the fall that we end up getting all of the data together that will then be posted for the 24-25 school year. So this data set is always a year behind.
Okay, so I am assuming we can put in our data that we think for our CNA and then go back and adjust it when yours is published.
So something else that you might want to look at for your CNA, we do have more updated data sets on our data warehouse page, which has our 24-25 October counts. So we do have that available. This is not the only place that we're putting this data out there. So we do have some that are available on the the data warehouse.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Yeah, and I can pop that link in the chat right now. It will be on the enrollment screen under student data. And we'll talk more next week about how the data that you see on the data warehouse looks a little bit different than the ESSA dashboard.
So if you have additional questions, a few of our team will stay on. If you have a question that you would like to ask us, we thank you for joining us, and we will put information related to the March 18th webinar in the chat box for you.
I was in the same boat as the first man that spoke about we could see by the time I got on, most of the slides had gone past. Is there a way to see those slides except
Yes.
YouTube?
I don't usually post other than YouTube. Shelley, do you have a way that you send out? Yeah, I don't usually post slides other than YouTube.
What I can do is I can share my screen and run through the slides, you know, at a slower speed, but
Okay.
not present.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Wanted to grab this sheet out to me. That's all. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on the 18th.